Hello everyone, let's discuss today's The Hindu editorial page. The first article is The Nobel in Economics as a Need to Course Correct. In this article, the writer says that Claudia Goldin's Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences for her research on gender dynamics in labor markets raises the question of why it took over half a century for the Nobel Committee to recognize economic research addressing gender inequalities in the economy. A simplistic response is to blame economics being a male-dominated discipline, which sidelines questions of gender inequality and fails to give them due importance. However, feminist economists argue for a revision of economic theory to overcome its limitations posed by its masculine nature. Androcentric bias refers to economic theories that fail to question the hierarchy of gender relations and form assumptions that facilitate existing hierarchies. This is illustrated by the duality of an economic man in the assumptions of economic theory, who is self-interested in the marketplace and an altruist in the household. The typical individual is attached to a world of one's own without the ability to be empathetic to another. The power wielded by a patriarch to solely make decisions for other individuals is subsumed under an assumption of altruism, setting the foundation for most economic theories concerning the household. Economics as a discipline has remained detached from the gendered experiences of individuals. A survey of economic models of the labor market shows that these theories are not only ignorant of gendered experiences, but also go on to invisibilize them. These models fail to account for the contributions of women as unpaid workers who reproduce labor for firms. If we were to examine upper-class households in India that employ domestic workers, we would find that these workers, trapped in hire-and-fire verbal agreements, bear the brunt of extending their care work to multiple households, including their own. In such cases, these households effectively transform into a distinct labor market, complicated by the role of caste networks and migration. Economic theories perceive non-market spaces such as the household as similar to firms or markets, as they fail to accommodate individuals occupying multiple social identities. For example, the well-being of domestic workers remains understudied in economics. Julie Nelson and other feminist economists have documented how social meanings associated with gender influence the building blocks of economic theory. While it is reasonable to associate masculine bias with the prominence of male economists, feminist economists argue that the direction of causality runs opposite. There is something well within the nature of economics as a discipline that excludes individuals with lived experiences that fail to address gender inequality. The next article is Life Over Death. Abolition of death penalty should form the core of any reform in justice system. In this article, the writer says that the parliamentary committee that examined the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita (BNS), the proposed criminal statute likely to replace the IPC, has not made a recommendation to abolish the death penalty. Instead, the Standing Committee on Home Affairs made a blunt recommendation that the matter may be left for the government to consider. However, main experts have made persuasive submissions that the judicial system can be fallible and prevent innocent people from being wrongly sentenced to death. The Supreme Court of India has been leaning away from capital punishment. Social scientists have demonstrated no deterrent effect, and global opinion is in favor of its abolition. The three bills proposing a new body of criminal law are substantially the same as the existing IPC, Code of Criminal Procedure, and Evidence Act. If Parliament moves to enact the draft bills, with changes suggested by the panel, it will be in the fact that it will be an opportunity to reconsider the need to retain the death penalty. The case for abolition will gain strength if the trend of seeking premature release of life convicts on political grounds is arrested, and life terms without reprieval become more common. Remission should be a humanitarian act and never a source of political controversy. Removing capital punishment from the statute book and introducing a rational and universal remission policy will be a substantial reform in the justice system. The next article is Food Flux. Amid the cooler headline inflation, food price pressures pose a risk. In this article, the writer says that in October, India's consumer price inflation reached a 4-month low of 4.87%, with wholesale prices declining by a minor 0.5%. This is slightly lower than the 5% retail inflation in September, but still represents some relief for the third consecutive month from July's 15.4% high pace. rural consumers still face a higher inflation of 5.1%. Core inflation, which excludes energy and food costs, has eased further, and household services inflation dropped by 4% after several months. The rise in vegetables prices eased to 2.7% in October, while overall food costs for households remained firm at 6.6%. Pulses and cereals saw faster price hikes or remained at elevated levels, possibly due to concerns about kharif output and uncertain rabi prospects. Pulses prices were up 19.4% at the wholesale level, suggesting that more pass-through to retail prices is likely. The Reserve Bank of India's Monetary Policy Committee will not be too swayed by the October data. November and December may see an average inflation of 5.95%, which is fractionally short of the central bank's upper tolerance threshold. The perceived retreat of inflation last month may be disappointing, as households that adjust to the continuous rise in living costs by pulling back on discretionary spending and downsizing essential consumption are likely to remain cautious rather than loosen their purse strings soon. Reluctant or budget-cramped consumers are the biggest headwind for policymakers to address. The next article is from the Hindustan Times. The article is Improve Teacher Quality to Raise School Standards. In this article, the writer says that India has the largest school education system in the world, with 1.5 million schools and 9.7 million teachers. However, the quality of education is a major concern due to the quality of teachers and their training. The National Education Policy, NEP, 2020 emphasizes the importance of teacher training programs that focus on developing pedagogical skills among teachers and providing ongoing professional development opportunities. Teacher pedagogy and continuous professional development are inextricably linked to providing quality education, as effective pedagogy creates a nurturing learning environment and continuous professional development ensures that teachers remain at the forefront of educational innovation. The Ministry of Education has followed up on the NEP recommendations and defined many teacher training schemes under the Pradhan Mantri Yojana. However, there are immediate steps that can be implemented to enhance the awareness and skill sets of teachers. Most government school teachers would not have stepped out of their immediate school environment after being admitted into teaching services. They have not been exposed to the best education systems in India, let alone the world. Central universities, IISers, IITs, and IOSC can design and curate innovative conferences, workshops, short-term training courses, interactive visits, and demonstrations for school teachers in their district and/or neighboring districts. The design needs to be innovative, allowing interaction in regional languages, active participation of school teachers, and providing functional experiences that can enhance teaching skills and enthusiasm. Exposure to the best institutions and minds in India, as well as the latest educational tools and subject updates, would be a lifetime experience for school teachers. The possibility of generative AI to augment teacher training and teaching must be explored, especially in regional languages. Interaction between teachers from schools and higher education institutes will also lay the bridge for better quality students crossing over to higher education institutions. Starting with the bottom half of the teachers in terms of quality and moving to better teachers is suggested. Instituting teaching assistantships, fellowships over and above existing fellowships for doctoral and postdoctoral scholars to prepare and conduct lectures, assignments, and discussions for school teachers would be a win-win situation. For teachers being updated, filling in for many teachers, and inspiring some research to take up teaching